Good evening, this is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the Bigger Picture webinar for the evening of Wednesday, the 28th of May. My disclaimer, I did this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing and learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. Right. Okay, we've got, on yesterday, we had a day of consolidation, really, and then we had the NVIDIA earnings, which had pushed the markets up. So that's up to 6,000. We're now within, well, I mean, a couple of hundred points of the high. So I'm thinking, I wrote a post last Friday, and I was talking about the possibility that we would go back and retest the high, and, well, we're more than halfway there. And I think we might make it the rest of the way. We shall see. Anyway, this morning we had a weak sell signal that made the possible near miss target and then has gone higher. NQ, we had a weak sell signal and that failed. We've gone higher, and again we've made a new high. On RTY and YM, we haven't made new highs yet. We're getting pretty close on RTY. That's the minimum target on this IHS that broke up, and I've got an extended target up in about the 2165 area. And I'm thinking that will likely get made as well. YM, again, getting pretty close to the high, and extended target a little higher. Looking at DAX, we've got 60-minute sell signal, reached the possible near miss target. I'm probably going to call it there. And ESTX, we didn't have a signal. So everything going to plan so far. Let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Okay, let's have a look at SPX first, where we had a test of the 200 DMA and what looks like a test of the daily middle band, but at the time it was actually about 20 handles below. But nonetheless, a very solid area to be finding support, and it found support and it's gone higher. In terms of the hourly chart, no current negative divergence. We hadn't made it up to the retest of the high in RTH, of course. We had a sell signal which fixed and made target, and we got, when we retest this high, which obviously we're doing at the moment and we'll likely do tomorrow morning, we've got a possible double top there, but I'm not expecting it to be a double top. I need to work on trend lines here. I haven't got anything particularly obvious in the way of targets apart from the retest of the high, but I think we've got a pretty good chance of doing that. And then we will see how it develops from there. On the hourly chart, nothing to see really. On the 15-minute chart on NQ, not much to see either. Although we did actually make the new all-time high in RTH today, so I didn't notice that. Okay, Dyer tested the daily middle band, moved higher. Nothing on the hourly chart, nothing on the 15-minute chart. I'm expecting this to go higher. Am I expecting to see a retest the all-time high here? I think it's possible. We've got what looks like an IHS forming here, but it's oversized. But actually, if we look at it on IWM, it doesn't look oversized. So if we have a look at it on the daily chart here, because you can quite easily see it on the daily, this would be the left shoulder, this would be the head, this would be the right shoulder, and this would be us very possibly breaking up tomorrow. Now, obviously, that doesn't need to make target, but if it does, then that could make a retest of the November high. So would that be a test of the all-time high? No, it wouldn't. So at least I don't think it would. Or would it? Yes, that was a new all-time high eventually. In that case, yeah, we could retest the all-time high. That would imply going considerably higher on SPX and QQQ. I'm wondering about that, but obviously it's possible. In terms of DAX, we tested the daily middle band and have gone to new highs. Nikkei, we've got a potential little head and shoulders here too, but again, might be oversized, but I am thinking we have a shot. Certainly if IWM retests the all-time high, then I think Nikkei's certainly got a decent shot at doing that too. All right, great. Let's have a look at DX. Now, DX, we've been rallying, and we had a little sell signal fixed here, and we are rallying further, basically on the NVIDIA news, which has been good for the dollar. So I am wondering about this head and shoulder target, which is down in the 98.4 area, but we don't actually fail this head and shoulders until we get up to about 101.1. In terms of the supporting cast of currency pairs, this IHS is, nope, it's not failing, it's failed. So this is suggesting a retest of this low, so that is suggesting that DX will go higher still. GBP USD broke rising support, but the main picture here is that we had this head and shoulders on USD JPY, and that broke down, and that failed on this spike up. So this also, we had a potential IHS forming, which I'd drawn in, and that has now broken up. So we've got a decent looking IHS, which now has a target up in the 147.5 area. So again, that is supportive of dollar going up, to at least somewhat from here. So we shall see. All right, let's have a look at currencies on the bigger picture charts and bonds. Okay, USD. We were testing this declining resistance again today, and we have broken up beyond it. Do we have a reversal pattern here? No, we don't. I am wondering, though, whether we may be forming a bear flag, and that could be ABC. That's one option. Potentially gets us up into about the 102.5 to 103 area. But there is another option, and that is this flag that we've been forming, this bull flag. I drew it in shortly after we made this high back in December, and we came down, we touched the flag support perfectly. Now, I have been reading that tariffs are likely to be supportive of the dollar. If that's the case, then this bull flag has a shot. It's a little hard to imagine from here, but if this bull flag breaks up over the resistance, which is currently in the 109 area, then we could see a retest of 114.78. Alternatively, this could break down hard, and this could be the topping pattern that would otherwise be the double top that would likely form if we did retest 114.78. We shall see. All right, looking at TYX. TYX, on the bigger picture, we've got an IHS that has formed and starting to break up. But we've been pulling back a bit from the break. You can see that here. We haven't broken the rising support on the daily chart, but I would note that on TNX, which has been a bit weaker, we have got an RSI 5 sell signal fix, and that hasn't made the possible near miss target yet, or the target. Is it going to make it when we test the daily middle band support? Yes, I think it might. We shall see. One thing to mention on the TLT chart I noticed, which is worth noting, is that we do actually have a potential inverted head and shoulders here on TLT. Now, this would go up with bonds rather than TNX or TYX, which of course the yields, which are inverted to the price of bonds. So I'm skeptical about this delivering anything, but I could see us potentially making it up here on TLT to, let's say, 90, 99, 100, and then failing back down. We'll see. I don't think this is going to be a great year for bonds, but I was interested to see that on the TLT chart. We shall see. All right, let's have a look at the CL chart. Okay, CL, we've got what looks like a bear flag. We've got also a nice looking double top here, which could be forming a head and shoulders here, maybe make a lower high in the 63.5 area and take us down into the next target, which should be in the 55.5 to 56.5 area. I quite like that. That's a good looking setup. And I'm still thinking that might break down. We've got a perfectly acceptable bear flag here, and it's backed up by the bear flags on HO and the bear flag on gasoline. They're pretty decent looking bear flags across the board, so I'm skeptical about oil going much higher. NG, I was saying in the pre-market video this morning that we'd retested the high here. That might well be the second high of double top. That double top's now broken down, and when we had this IHS breakdown, I said that that's setting up a retest of this low here in the 3.43 area. This double top is also looking there. I'm thinking we'll probably come back and retest this low in the 3.3 area, and then we see what happens from there. All right, looking at the bigger picture charts on those. Okay, oil. On the daily chart, not a lot to see. I've got this nice looking channel which I'm watching. So if we do see a break much further down under 55, then this could be breaking down. But until then, I tend to respect a nice looking channel like this. So the next obvious target within the channel would actually be channel resistance up in the 77 area. That looks a long way away at the moment, but never say never. All right, looking at heating oil, we've got Potentially a little breakup from here. Kind of looks like a bear flag forming, and obviously on the smaller picture on the hourly chart, it looks like a bear flag forming. Looking at gasoline, again, I've got this as a likely bear flag forming. We will see how that goes. But I'm liking the downside really on all of these. If you start having a look at the weekly charts, we've seen this could be a breakup over declining resistance, but we could just be establishing a less steep declining resistance trend line, in which case there's nothing really to say this trend is broken. Do we have a potential level bottom here though? Yeah, maybe. And looking at oil, heating oil, we got a potential level bottom here too, and a pretty nice looking falling wedge. I'm keeping an open mind on this, but I think I'm expecting the economy to be weakening later in the year. I'm not really seeing any reason to think that it won't. That being the case, that's not likely to be particularly kind to energy. All right, looking at natural gas, looks as though we're going to be heading back into a retest of this low at 310, although that's actually at 330 on the current month. So because we've obviously had a gap up, as we often do on natural gas. So we'll see where that goes, but I'm still leaning towards the downside, and exactly the same comments on energy apply. As apply on the oils. So we'll see. All right, looking at gold. Watching this with interest tonight. We've got a little head and shoulders I was looking at this morning. That's actually finished forming and broken down. That's broken down with the target in the 3200 area. I'm not seeing, we've got an IHS which is also broken up and hasn't failed yet. And actually probably wouldn't fail if we made it to 3200, although it would be pretty close to failing. So I'm wondering about this, and this may go lower. It's certainly a decent looking little head and shoulders, so I am wondering about it. Okay, SI, we've broken up, and we haven't made it to the retest of this target in the retest. The flag target is a retest of this high here in the 34 area. So I'm leaning towards that being made, and this looks like bullish consolidation. On palladium, we actually had a pretty ambitious looking head and shoulders breakdown and made target today. No current positive divergence, but I'm wondering about a breakup. On platinum, we just had, where we had palladium retracing sharply, we've just had a bullish consolidation. I'm leaning long on all of the metals, apart from HG, which is really pure industrial metal. Now we've got a weak 60-minute buy signal fixed, and I'm thinking we might well see some more upside. This looks like a flag which is broken up with the target in the retest of about 4.98 area high. I'm thinking we could see that, but it could well be the second high of a double top. And again, with a slowing economy, which does seem very likely, then that's not likely to be kind to copper. But in the short term, it may catch a wave as we go on with equities. Okay, let's have a look at that on the bigger picture charts. And looking at gold, looks like a bull flag, which is going to break up soon into a retest of 3,500. Could we come back down and retest this low first? Potentially, yes. Looking at silver, we've got an overall bull flag forming here too. I was showing you the small one here, but actually this is a much larger one, which has taken 6 or 7 months to form. I'm liking the upside on this too. That would only take us up to 34.86, but on the bigger picture, I've got possible resistance trend lines up in about 36 and 38 areas. Okay, looking at palladium. Palladium looks like a big move on the hourly chart. Looks obviously a lot less big on the daily chart. I'm still wondering bigger picture about a retest of 808, but we don't seem to be heading there at the moment. This could be a bear flag, and we could see another high within the flag, but I don't really have a decent support trend line for that, so we shall see. But bigger picture, I would like to see this make a low and start making tracks to the upside, but I don't really have anything convincing in terms of a reversal pattern. If we did retest this low, that would give us a really nice looking double bottom. But at the moment, pure speculation. Platinum. Platinum, we've seen a nice move up, and that's actually managed to take us up over this triangle we've been forming, contracting, well, and compressing really over the last couple of years. This may be the sign of a more serious breakup, and obviously it's been consolidating. This one could well continue higher. Next obvious target would actually be a retest of this high here in the 1132 area. Looking at copper, copper has been trading sideways to a degree. So I'm liking the downside bigger picture. On the bigger picture, these two highs look like double tops. And I'm leaning towards the downside on those, so we shall see. Sustained break below 3.75 would get us down into the 2.2, 2.3 area, and that. I was talking about the second high being the second high of a double top when we got here. I'm expecting to see a contracting economy. Copper does not tend to do well in a contracting economy. So heading back into the 2.2 to 2.3 area looks very credible. Okay, GDX, we were looking at the sell signal brewing on Sunday. That's fixed, but this does look kind of like a bull flag which is breaking up. And GDX, J looks like the same, but we're also on an hourly RSI 14 sell signal. Okay, let's have a look at commodities. Now, KC, we had an IHS here. It broke up, failed, went back into the lows, and we've got a pretty decent looking falling wedge forming. If that continues to be the case, then the next obvious target would be falling wedge support, currently in about 342 area. Looking at SB. SB, I said this morning that I'd given up on the IHS and I was leaning towards seeing a retest the low, and we've seen a retest the low. I've got an okay looking falling wedge here, and I am wondering if this is a bullish underthrow before it breaks up. We may no longer have an IHS, but we do have a potential double bottom. However, I do have a cautionary note on that on the bigger picture charts in terms of the big head and shoulders, which is trying to break down. Okay, on CC, we had a double top, which broke down and made target. Now we've got a head and shoulders, which has broken down with a target in the 8,000 area. I think that's got a decent shot, but we do have a possible 60-minute buy signal brewing. And if it gets back over the right shoulder high, which I've got in about the 10,200 area, then that would fail this and suggest a move back to retest this high in the 11,250 area. Okay, looking at cotton. Cotton is holding below the monthly pivot at the moment. That's only the monthly pivot for the next 2 days, and then we'll get new monthly pivots. So, but at the moment, this is not showing much enthusiasm about going up. So I am wondering about it going down. More about that to say about that on the daily chart. Lumber, I'm leaning towards it coming back in, retesting this low and maybe going lower. Looking at wheat. Wheat, could this be an IHS forming? Potentially, yes. We'll see. I've got more to say about this on the daily chart. On corn, possible again, but I'm slightly alarmed by the depth of the retracement here. I am wondering about a possible retest of this low in the 436 area. Looking at soy, soy just consolidated sideways, leaning towards seeing a retest of this high first. On soybean oil, consolidation sideways, possible bear flag forming, setting up a retest of this low. On live cattle, still leaning towards seeing a bit lower before within a probable bull flag that is forming. And lean hogs, we have broken down, looking for a retest this high, and possibly that's setting up a double top for a larger retracement. All right, great. Let's have a look at the bigger picture charts on those. Okay, coffee. We are very stretched by recent standards of recent years, and actually if I ran this back over the last 25 years, you'd see this is standing out on its own. Now, obviously, you take that with a pinch of salt, and obviously if you're looking at 25 years ago, then there's been quite a lot of inflation since then. But nonetheless, this is very stretched by historical standards. We're failing at the weekly middle band and going down at the moment. In terms of the daily chart, we're below the daily middle band as well. I'm thinking this could be a bull flag and take us lower, or we could just be heading lower. So it would be a stretch to get back up to 4.41 again. I'm slightly skeptical. Looking at sugar, the downside scenario I was talking about is this head and shoulders that is broken down with a target at very little. Now it sort of looks a bit oversized. I'm skeptical about it making target, but this is the potential downside scenario, and it's quite an alarming one, which is one reason I've been warning against being too optimistic about what happens on sugar. Now, do we have an okay setup to go back up again? Yeah, it's not awful, but the best pattern on the chart is the head and shoulders. Could we have a double bottom here? Yes. But if it heads straight down, I wouldn't be astonished. All right, cocoa, again, very, very stretched by historical standards. Again, very obvious on the chart. We've got a potential little top here, but that is improbably large. So large, it really wouldn't have a shot at making target. That doesn't mean it won't break down, though. And I think we might be heading back to it. This head and shoulders wouldn't get us all the way there, but it would get us a significant distance. In terms of the weekly chart, not a lot to say on the weekly chart, but obviously we've seen a few weeks of decent downtrend, and at the moment that doesn't appear to be stopping. Looking at wheat, we've got this big falling wedge, and I'm wondering whether we're seeing bottoming action here. We've got a decent looking nested double bottom as we stand here. Don't know whether it can play out, but I think it's got a shot, and I like the pattern setup to the upside. We've also got, on corn, another falling wedge which has broken up, and we've got a potential inverted head and shoulders here. So we'll see how that goes. No divergence on the daily either. Looking at soybeans, we've got, again, another falling wedge, but this one hasn't broken up. This looks like a bear flag forming. We haven't quite made it to resistance, but we came pretty damn close. This looks like a bear flag. Normally, this will resolve into a retest of the low at 936 before a possibility of going up. We'll see how that goes. Looking at cotton, we're on a weak RSI 14 buy signal. In the short term, we're just trying to get back to falling wedge resistance. We've got another very nice looking falling wedge here. This one hasn't broken up either, but this already has a nice looking double bottom. What we don't have is much buying pressure on cotton. So we'll see whether it can improve in the near future and actually do something. Right, looking at lumber, on the bigger picture, this looks like a bear flag. On the smaller picture, this looks like a rising wedge, which is breaking down. Do I have a topping pattern here? Yes, potentially a large head and shoulders. This could head down a long way and get down to the retest that's low in the 418.50 area. All right, well, in that case, I think it's a wrap. I will catch you guys again on Sunday. Take care.